October 17th, 2024, regular meeting of the Franklin School Board to order. Thank you all for coming. Good to have such a large crowd out there. Do we have a motion to come out of closed session?
I move to come out of closed session.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Do we have a motion for certification?
Whereas the Franklin City School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law, and now therefore be it resolved that the Franklin City School Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies. And two, only such business matters were considered.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Did I hear a second? Yes. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Would you stand for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think we have one motion from closed session, and that is to approve our personnel agenda as written. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Do we have a motion to approve our agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Roll call. Ms. Davis, please.
Dr. Harrison,
Present.
Dr. Scott,
Here.
Ms. Parker,
Here.
Ms. Boone,
Here.
Mr. Holt,
Here.
Ms. Council,
Here.
Ms. Hunt,
Here.
Dr. Carter.
Here. Thank you. We have a full board tonight. Moving on to items 3, we have first reading of our minutes for October 3rd. We have second reading for our minutes for September the 19th, of which we will vote. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Dr. Harrison. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Dr. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Holt. Dr. Walters.
Mr. Kaplan, thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Mr. Holt, members of the board, Dr. Carter. This evening, I'm going to provide an update on some of our major projects. I'll begin with an update on Mod C. Franklin Power and Light has installed the pole, and so we are getting closer to electric being at the mod. At the time of ordering, Bay Electric provided us with a timeline that gave a 6 to 8 week lead time for the panel. That would have had arrival toward the end of this month. When we checked earlier this week, that arrival date has moved significantly to December 11th. And so that is pushing transition into the new mod likely to January of 2025. So we are taking several steps to make sure between now and then that as much work can be completed ahead of time as possible. So I'll start by saying that initial inspections by the city have been completed. Scott has taken a look at the plumbing. That has passed. Mechanical and final inspections will take place once everything is operational. But until then, maintenance is working to rekey all of the doors so that that matches our keying system. They're also working to install the dry erase boards and bulletin boards in the classrooms and hallway, and moving the remaining furniture from the gym into each classroom. The custodial team is also working to clean all of the classroom spaces and apply wax to the floor just to help that stay looking as nice as it can for as long as it can. Our technology team has contracted to run all required networking, and we've also contracted to run the wiring for the fire alarm and the security system. We are completed running all of the networking cable, and the fire alarm and security system will be completed in the coming weeks. Next slide. We are moving right along with our HVAC replacement at the elementary school. I've tried to make this as user-friendly as possible, so if you'll take a look at the image, if it is highlighted in green, the units for those classrooms have been installed and are operational. The yellow units on the 300 hall are our next steps. Beginning Monday, we're transitioning back to work during the instructional day. I've provided communication to the school to share with families of children who are going to be impacted by this. And the way that we're going to work this to minimize the risk for students and staff, fortunately with the layout of SP Morton, we're able to utilize kind of the Jack and Jill placement. So for instance, the hallway where you see the longer rectangle, the longer yellow rectangle, they'll be able to exit out of room 308 right behind them when they need to get into the hallway for transitions for resource, recess, and lunch. And so once the work is completed on that hall, the hall behind them will then enter and exit through the other classroom door on the previous hall. But again, that information is going to be communicated to families as it is impacting their students. So please be on the lookout for that. The rooms connecting the first hall and the back hall, 206, 207, 208, the units in those spaces are actually in the classroom. Those are our reading tutors spaces. And so we're going to coordinate that work over Thanksgiving break so that there are no students who are impacted with units actually in the classroom. I would say most of the units in the school are actually in the ceiling in the hallway.
So I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
308 and 307 is actually what grades?
Fourth grade.
Okay.
And the 301 and 302, the others in that longer rectangle, are also fourth grade.
Okay. I was just making sure it wasn't our babies.
No,
Okay.
ma'am. If you'll go back, Ms. Davis. All right, so our babies are 401, 402, 403 is pre-K.
Okay.
408, 765 is kindergarten. So that will be one of the next stages. But again, we're going to work to communicate with families to let them know when those rooms are going to be impacted.
And you said in the center, which is 208, 207, 206, that's actually, I think it's the third grade? the center, that's gonna be done over Thanksgiving recess holiday?
So 206, 207, 208 is going to be over Thanksgiving.
Okay.
But those spaces, 206, 207 are our reading tutors. 208 is the current teacher lounge.
Okay,
If you look in the middle, 204, 205, 209, and 210, those are our third grade
Third
rooms.
graders.
I believe that is part of what is being completed over winter break. I'll
Okay.
verify that. JRC has shared with us a spreadsheet that indicates like phase completion. I can verify that and get back with you.
okay.
We were very fortunate to be able to utilize ESSER 3 funding to purchase additional custodial equipment, and that was in the neighborhood of $137,000 worth of equipment for all of our schools. Those include new scrubbers, sweepers, burnishers, and vacuums. And we have had the vendor provide training to our custodial staff. We broke that up over 2 sessions. So one session was at Franklin High School, one session was at SP Morton. And we're working with Ms. Langley, our custodial supervisor, to bring them back for an additional training during the month of November. In addition, we are working to contract with a company that will help us provide one deep clean of the walls and windows inside SP Morton. We really think that that's going to help to spruce up the inside of the school. We want to make sure that as we're entering flu season, that we're coming in with a clean environment for our students.
And when do you think that's gonna take place?
I did
Deep
a
cleaning?
walkthrough with the vendor today. Ms. Langley did a walkthrough 2 days ago, I believe. And so if the price is right, we'll be moving very quickly. If the price is not right, we're going to continue to look because we want to make sure that is addressed. I will say that we are also working on our custodial staffing. And so that, along with the training, along with the equipment, we're working to make sure that we have a safe environment for all of our children.
But along with all of that, the time frame of actually the deep cleaning, if the price is right, or if the price isn't right, we're gonna use our custodians. The time frame, are we actually gonna do that over the weekend? Are we gonna do that when the children are not in school for the week? What is the time frame?
The vendor suggested doing it over Saturdays,
Okay.
and I think that it's likely that it's going to be over 2 Saturdays, just with the scope of the work that we're looking at. And that would provide them open access,
Okay.
no students in the building. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And some very, very good news. FCPS is the recipient of a grant that totals almost $100,000 to help support the purchase of a new playground at the elementary school. So in working with Ms. Fair, we've identified 2 pieces of equipment, recognizing that we have some good-sized classes at the elementary school right now. And so we want to make sure that our children have really nice equipment to play on. So we received information since this presentation was collected, and working with Dr. Carter, we're going to move forward on the purchase of the equipment to make sure that we comply with all of the expectations of the grant, because we don't want to have anything happen to that amount of funding. We're also going to work on bidding out the installation phase. So we anticipate having that by the end of the calendar year on site, and then installation, we're going to take a look at funding to see how early we can make that happen. Yes, ma'am.
So essentially, they're getting a new playground with 2 new pieces of equipment
We're going to,
added. Is that what that said?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is we're actually going to demo what's there right now.
Okay.
Because several of the sales that we're providing shade have worn, broken. And so, again, we want to make sure that our kids have a nice experience.
So is this going in the back where Mod C is, or is it going on the side between the Boys and Girls Club and the cafeteria?
This is actually going where the existing playground is.
In the back,
Yes,
Mod
ma'am.
C.
And what we're
Okay.
going to do, we're going to take out a large section of the fence, and we're going to send a
it over.
piece of perpendicular fence out
Okay.
toward the cemetery. So it's really going to open up a lot of playground space for our students.
So now I have another question, because I want to go back to the beginning. To my understandings is, so January 2025, we are going to have a functioning Mod C, correct?
That is absolutely the plan.
That's our goal.
That is the plan, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so with us demolitioning the playground, which is adjacent to Mod C, when are we going to put up that playground? Because I'm trying to make sure that we don't have to go back and do anything with Mod C.
Right.
Meaning we don't have to dig any holes, we don't have to move anything, we don't have to, because everything will be fine. So are we doing, I understand we're gonna do everything, getting the stuff for the playground, but we actually gonna install it after Mod C is completely done and everything, or?
I think that's most realistic.
Okay,
Um,
okay,
Yeah, there are several large projects that are happening in the division. I always want to put our students first. And
Okay.
so getting them into their new learning space, that is my first priority.
okay,
Making sure that they have really, really nice playground equipment, that's another top priority. And from my elementary background,
right,
play is learning.
right, it is.
But we want to make sure that they have as nice of a classroom first as possible. Then we're going to get into the
The
playground.
reason why I was actually saying that is because I understand the playground, but to me, I'm more adamant about Mod C being up and functioning and
Yes,
everything.
ma'am.
And just to make sure that we don't have to dig a hole or anything else, or we have to move over something. That's my main concern. That's why I was asking.
Correct.
So the answer is yes, once it's fully inspected
Yes,
and, had the punch list, the city inspector gives it the go,
right.
then maybe about a month later, we'll begin to start looking at the playground.
So the playground after February going.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, because we want to see what the kinks are.
That's the part I want to
Right.
see because,
We want to wait a little time before the kinks, so really the modification of playgrounds start around the spring.
okay, okay.
Yes,
So we
ma'am.
are gonna have a functioning 2025, 2025 Mod C.
That is absolutely the goal. And
Okay.
I have worked diligently to provide updates
Okay.
as they've been made available to me. As soon as we can get children in Mod C,
Okay.
we're going to have children in Mod C.
Okay.
There have definitely been some unanticipated delays.
Right.
And so that is part of the learning process for me.
Right.
And I've leaned into transparency. I am not intending on providing any false hope. I'm trying to be real with the timelines that I'm given. And so based on the information that I have, Bay Electric will have that panel on December 11th.
Okay.
Working to get them to install that as quickly as possible. And I don't want to give any false hope about when we can get that in, but I think realistically, January of '25 is where we are right now.
And in the meantime, Ms. Boone, we're going to do everything on our part.
Right.
Get the floors ready.
Right.
Get the technology in. So we'll make sure that we have everything, so as soon as they can turn the power on.
Right.
We're pretty much ready to go.
Yes.
And we just put the furniture in.
Okay.
So
And
I was
I'll-
thinking
I'm
about
sorry.
with the date that you said that they're expected to get the panel and then the holidays are
The
coming up.
holidays, that's
and
what I was
everything.
looking
So,
at,
because I know we're
holidays.
gonna shut down, so everybody can recuperate. So
Right.
with them too, so it's kind of like,
Yeah,
is it
I
going
was
to be
looking at the
before the year
holidays.
the year ends, or is it gonna be more, so realistically, we're looking at January, and
Mm-hmm.
then maybe having the students, maybe the end of January, February, just depending on how soon the external pieces, what do you think?
When they
No,
come back
no,
from
no,
break.
no.
That's what I hear 'em say.
We hope to have this thing punch list out
Okay.
before
Before
we go
we go home.
home for break.
Okay, thank you.
And I will add that the vendor from Lakeshore has assembled their pieces of furniture. So again, we're taking care of the things that we have
We can.
immediate control of.
Okay.
And we're working with our vendors to get the pieces that we need in as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I did, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ari.
No, I was gonna say, I'm just making sure you saw you.
We got to the HVAC and I got sidetracked. You said there's a big, how long are we looking at total to get the HVAC done at the school?
HVAC completion is slated for the end of February.
Okay.
And the way that the team is working, it's about 1 day per unit to remove and install, and then about another day to get it on the control system. So it's about 2 days per unit. And so, again, we're working with scheduling the units in the hallways that impact classrooms first. The units that are physically in classrooms, those are going to be scheduled over breaks. I already know from JRC that they are planning on working our week of Thanksgiving. When we're out of the building, they can get in and do as much as they possibly can. So, yes, ma'am, that's where we are with that.
Thank you.
Certainly. Nothing else?
I was trying to wait, but I mean, Ms. Boone started it, so I was like, let's go.
I'm done.
Are you kidding me? Anything else, Dr. Walter?
No, sir, not this evening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Morrison.
Are you kidding?
Good evening, Dr. Carter, School Board. The first thing I have this evening is the financial report for September 30th. Obviously, 25% of the year has passed, and we have collected 21% of our revenues and expended 21% of our budgeted expenditures. If you notice under local city appropriation capital, we have $330,000 there that we were appropriated from the city that is on a reimbursement basis. And then if you look down in the expenses under facilities, that's where we budget our expenses for the $330,000. We've spent $99,000 there, primarily due to the electrical work for the Mod C. And once we are able to get reimbursed for that $99,000, we will no longer be operating in a deficit. The other thing I can say about the general fund revenues is that our average daily membership is much higher than what we had budgeted for. And in December, when Virginia Department of Education puts out a new calculator, it could be that we're able to recognize more revenue and therefore budget more expenditures. Next slide, please. In the textbook fund, we've spent $7,500 so far on textbooks. For the nutrition fund, we are operating at a deficit, and that is by design. The Virginia Department of Education requires us to keep only a certain amount of surplus on hand, and we are actually on an action plan to reduce that right now. Next slide, please. This slide is federal grants only. And if you notice, we've only collected 7% of our revenues, but we've expended 52% of our expenses. Okay, and there are three primary reasons for this. The first reason is we have $1.8 million in encumbrances for grants only. And that means we have issued a purchase order and committed funds to make an expenditure, but we haven't actually paid the bill yet. So by definition, those can't be reimbursed yet. The second thing is we have $1.6 million that we spent in September. Okay, in September, expenditures are typically reimbursed in October. Out of that $1.6 million, we have already received $1.1 million in reimbursements, primarily from our ESSER grant. And lastly, if you look under transportation, the $1,164,000 was revenue that came in last fiscal year, but yet we're still paying for the clean school buses. So that $750,000 is not going to see associated revenue in this fiscal year. And those three things taken together would explain why we're at a $3.9 million deficit.
Okay.
Next slide. And that would leave our totals looking like this. Any questions? No? Okay. The second thing I have this evening is a cash flow projection. I thought it would be important to note where we are with our cash flow. The cash balance at June 30th of 2024, at the end of our last fiscal year, straight out of the city's financial reporting system, was $2,091,698.37. If you take a look at the revenues that have come in for the first 3 months of this year and the expenditures that have gone out for the first 3 months of this year, we project the cash balance at September 30th to be roughly $685,000. And we are in the process of reconfiguring our financial reporting system so that we will be able to get a real-time cash balance. But until that is finalized, looking ahead to October, we're looking at pretty level revenues and expenses, and we project the cash balance at October 31 will be $755,000. Looking more long range, overall grand total, we have $2.5 million in encumbrances year to date. And as those goods and services are received and invoices come in, that $2.5 million is going to turn into cash outflows over time. The good news about that is we have $2.2 million we've already paid last year and this year on the roof project. That once the literary loan is released on the October 24th Board of Education meeting, we will then be able to start requesting reimbursements for that. So those reimbursements will also be coming in over time. Questions on cash flow? Okay. The next thing I have for you is the September vouchers, and you'll see as we go through the vouchers that we've had a lot of grant expenditures, particularly closing out of the ESSER grant that was due. You had to have encumbrances by September 30th. We did 2 check runs, one on the 6th and one on the 18th. Questions on the vouchers?
We're still doing storages? We still have storage units?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wow. I thought we got rid of them.
We have gotten rid of some of them, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Next, I have 2 budget amendments to consider. We received a $50,000 grant, and we've already received the cash from the Wallace Foundation, and that is for leadership development, especially principals and aspiring principals. So this is the budget amendment that would record that increase in revenues and expenditures. I move that we approve this budget amendment as written.
Do we have a motion to approve the Wallace Foundation grant for $50,000?
I so move.
To a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
The second budget amendment I have this evening is that our Carl Perkins allocation has come in and our grant is approved. And it came in at $276.38 more than what we had projected. I would like to recommend that this budget amendment be approved as well.
Do we have a motion to approve the Carl Perkins amendment?
I so move.
Second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Tracy, is the city still contracting their director of finance position?
No, sir. I've met the new director of finance that started recently.
Okay, thank you. That's good.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Ms. Boone, the storage beds have been designated, we still have 2 left. They've been taken off SP Morton's site,
Okay.
but we use them for maintenance now for storage.
Okay.
So they're over there because we know the Charles Street gym is crumbling.
Okay. Okay.
And so we need a place to put our equipment.
So that's what's at the JP King.
Yes, it's over there by the storage,
Okay.
by maintenance yard.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll sit this time. And one more thing, Mr. Holt, I just want to make sure that the board received their save the date for November 14th for JP King. Should have received an email.
I got mine.
Did you look? That seems suspect.
It's, this is a great time to acknowledge Mrs. Boone, Ms. Parker, and Mr. Holt. Can you come on down?
Huh? What'd you do this time?
Every time I get called, I got a nurse uniform on.
He's all dressed up. He must have known.
You see the pen on the top?
I see it. That's from the little ritual. Gotcha. All right, so, no, this is for recognition of your VSBA Academy. Yes, so, our board likes to stay informed, educated, and engaged. And so they would like to recognize you for your completion of your coursework, VSBA Academy. So Ms. Boone, you have been awarded the bronze pin. All right, Ms. Parker, you also have been awarded the bronze pin. And Mr. Holt, you have the starfish pin.
Points. Points. You take more classes.
Mr. Holt, I'm not going to hug you.
It's awful.
Take a picture.
We behind you.
Put Bob in the middle, make that sandwich. Oh, Lord, I just see stupid.
No, yeah,
He was trying to
Photo
take
bomb
out
you.
the picture.
So I guess when did you do your application?
I think it's obvious to everyone that those two are definitely engaged. We have no one signed up for citizens' time. The only announcement I have is our next meeting will be November 14th, the same day as our J.P. King celebration. Board members, anything else? Really? Do we have a motion for adjournment?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
I second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thaned you all.
Oh, no. Oh, fish.